Zaid, you began your career in the United States. You lived for several years in Los Angeles. How did you come to go there in the first place?
I was applying for to do my master's degree in different universities in the U.S. and outside, and I got my first selections. Well, so my first letters saying okay was from the U.S. and I thought it's a good idea to go to the U.S. because it's Hollywood to get to know about like the business side of things, and then mix it with my background of like the more theory and art. So it was great. I loved it.
So you made a lot of short films there, some of which did really well, won prizes, and you said that you were always proud to tell your mother about your successes, but there was sort of a downside to it. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I would come back to Jordan and I have like my trophies and my awards for my films, and my mom's very happy for me. But there was some sort of like sadness or remorse that didn't sit well with me at all. And then I realized that when I talked to her further, is that she like my successes, while she's happy for me, she remembered what she couldn't achieve of her own dreams because she had to be the perfect older sister for four girls, and then perfect wife, perfect mother for four boys. So that's a lot of pressure in society on any woman, specifically also in a place like Jordan.
So basically, that was one of the reasons why you came up with the idea for Daughters of Abdulrahman.
Yeah, after this talk with my mom, I talked to my aunts, and then I talked to my four cousins, the sisters, my cousins' four sisters, and then I sent out 300 surveys in Jordan to different women of all different backgrounds, and it was the same thing that I felt with my mother.
So basically, you did research before you created a
Yeah,
feature film.
yeah.
Okay, but it was interesting. I mean, it's a film that is in many ways a very conventional screenplay. It's a family drama, a family tragic comedy,
Mhm.
but for an audience like ours in Zurich, it's new because it's set in a different culture. And to what extent did you deliberately adopt patterns, formulas that you had seen working, for example, in Hollywood and so on? And to what extent was it all sort of tailor-made for your country, for Jordan?
I think what I did is first is I made sure that I know all the rules to making a feature film. Like I learned the rules. I was in doing my master's, learning these rules. And in the film, because you can break the rules once you know what they are. So that's what I did. And then it was on paper, some people were like, no, the structure or this or that. But I felt that it will work. In my head, it was very clear. And I was definitely scared because it's my first feature film. I was like, what if these people are correct? But and I learned from them. But thankfully, the film is doing really well. So I think, as a director, I definitely found my voice in through this film more than even my shorts.
So you were saying it's worked very well. What has the reception been in the Arab countries where it's played?
The reception, honestly, has been like outstandingly amazing. People are so moved by the film. And I get like hundreds of messages on Instagram after each screening when we screen, like whether in the Arab region or abroad. And it is speaking to people very well. Of course, there's people that they say this very famous Jordanian line, which is "had ما بيمثلنا," which means this doesn't represent us, because there's this movement by the minority in the Arab region that want all Arab films about Arab characters to have the perfect image, which nobody's making a film about what's perfect. So
Well, I mean, that's part of the theme of your film as well. This idea that people at home are quite different to how they are outside the home, and that there is a lot of conventional pressure in society for people to behave in a very, very sort of a demure way, whereas at home they are quite different. So that was also something that apparently struck people, that for once somebody would actually show that there are two worlds there.
I wanted, honestly, like I insisted to go inside the families and inside the homes, and that whole thing of like being someone inside the house or being somebody else outside is something that I personally struggled with throughout my 20s. And as I always say, like I remember I was lying a lot in my 20s because I wanted to fit in. But then when I realized that that's not, like, this is not the way to go, and if we all fit in and if we all act and look the same, then how are we progressing as a nation? So I intended to make this film very, I would say, like not non-biased and very honest and very delivering that truth in the house. And this is what maybe this is why some people were pissed off.
Well, at the first screening here, which was the opening night, I was struck by several women from different Arab countries responding very, very strongly and finding that they had recognized their own experience in the film. But how have you observed the reception of the Swiss audience, Zurich audience? I mean, to what extent was that different from a sort of a home audience?
So basically, what I loved in the screening here at Zurich Arab Film Festival is that the audience was mostly like Swiss or Western, because the film works for the Arabs, and I love to show it to more Arabs, of course. But because it's a very specific Jordanian story or Arab story, I was surprised how it resonated so well with the people here, and I think it's also because this whole structure of like being somebody at home, being somebody outside, we all kind of have different ways of struggling with that. Also, the family dynamic, the sisterhood, like a lot of women, identified with that, regardless of what, how they look like on the outside. So, and also in Italy, the same happened when we screened at the festival there, and we won the audience award with a like 100% Italian audience. So I'm very thankful, and I feel very. I'm surprised, but I know what works now. I feel like I've learned a lot through not just writing and directing this film, and also from interacting with the audience.
And what has your festival experience been here? Have you managed to see other films or talk to people?
I have a plan to see maybe 7 films in the coming days. The first few days I was very busy. This year I've never been as exhausted as this year in my life. But yeah, I just watched short Iraqi films. Uh, very, very shocking. Nothing that I didn't know about, and it is in the past, but it's hard to see to know that people went through this. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
And
Thank you.
enjoy the festival.
I love Zurich Arab Film Festival.